Hi, I'm Jean Shumacher, founder of Simply Plant Based, where I have a lot of programs to help you to change your health destiny. And coming soon is Plant Based Academy, where I'm going to provide a lot of resources because you're going to have questions and I'm going to have some answers for you. So today, I have the opportunity to interview Shane Sterling. So, Shane, thank you so much for taking the time to be with me here today.
Hi, Jean. Thank you so much for having me on. It's my absolute pleasure to talk to you today and your audience and discuss the power of a plant-based diet, which has been one of my passions for the last 30 years of my life.
Me too. Me too. So, but you're a raw vegan, right? So, what
Correct.
made you become a raw vegan? Share your story with us.
Yeah, it's a good story because I went vegan for the animals in 1990. I was a 17-year-old kid at the time, and I just wanted to do it for the animals. I quickly found the health benefits, and the spiritual benefits came after that. I had a really big spiritual awakening 7 years after I went vegan. At the time, I had this intuitive feeling that it was related to being vegan. These things opened up. I had a really big epiphany and awakening in my life. I was like 24. I was young, but that has continued to unfold. And I discovered the idea of a raw vegan diet when I was 30 years old. Okay, this was in like the year 2000 or so, maybe 22 years ago. And I didn't think that was even remotely possible. I liked the idea of a raw food diet, but I thought, well, that must be for monks living on mountaintops or something like that. That didn't seem realistic. I said, well, maybe someday I could get there, but that certainly isn't realistic now. But it kept persisting. The idea of it never left my heart and mind. I really had a strong calling to it. And I tried going raw vegan for short periods of time through my 30s and felt lightheaded and was eating kale and felt like my head was in the clouds and I was, ungrounded and all these things because I didn't know what I was doing. Yes, eating kale is not enough calories or sustenance to sustain on a raw vegan diet. Now, in my 40s, I developed chronic psoriasis. Chronic psoriasis. 5 years I had it. It's like dandruff, skin inflammation, and it would come down onto my face, and I'd get red patches, flaky patches on my face. It got so out of control. I was studying everything online, looking on forums, reading Google articles. It was all just a wild goose chase. Deep down, I knew the way to do this was to go raw vegan. And I'd been vegan for many years, but never raw. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to do a juice fast. I'm going to clean out my gut with a 40-day juice fast, which I did. And I went 100% raw after that. And I just figured it out. I didn't know how to do it, but I just stayed raw. I didn't worry about the how. I knew my vision was to heal my psoriasis. So I just started eating tons of fruit. And that was my focus. And then salads and then nuts and seeds. And then I got into sprouting and fermenting and was making coconut yogurts and things like this. And all of a sudden I'm like, wow, I can eat 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 calories a day on raw food and I'm making smoothies and all these delicious things. And I got really into it. And I've been raw ever since. My psoriasis completely disappeared after about a year and a half raw. All the symptoms were gone. All the flakiness, itchy, red, patchy flakes, gone. So I did heal my psoriasis. And now I've been fully raw for 5 years. And raw is simply just a whole food diet. It's the same as any other diet. For me, raw food seems so easy and natural. It doesn't seem weird at all now because it's just proteins, carbs, and fats, just like any diet, just like a cooked whole food plant-based diet, except it's just not denatured. So I'm eating raw nuts and seeds instead of cooked things. I don't eat starches. That's the biggest hurdle for people to get over: potatoes, beans, rice, the starches. You just give up the starches and you give up cooked oils, bam, you're raw. So that's what I've done. And it's completely transformed my life. And now I coach people on how to do it. I'm a full-time raw food coach and detoxification coach. I have private clients. My calendar's filled with private clients, and I have a membership with over 600 members who are all learning how to juice fast and how to eat raw foods. And it's a supportive community membership that really helps people learn from each other how to do it. So that's what I'm doing these days. And it's fantastic, very rewarding, and spiritually, fulfilling for me. And that's my path, is going from vegan for the animals to like spiritually fulfilled in my life, doing service work around a plant-based diet.
Wow. So like some vegans, like people that I know, like some people that have gone raw will gently heat up a little bit. Do you do any of that, or no heating at all?
Sure, you can heat foods slightly, you can warm foods. It's really about maintaining the integrity of the food, just keeping it undenatured. Enzymes are destroyed at 118 degrees. And it might seem inconsequential, like, oh, well, some nutrients are more available when cooked. But what is lost is not to be underestimated. We have volatile phytochemicals, gases, oils, hormones in the food, oxygen in the food. All of these things are very volatile, very delicate, and completely lost. So we want to maintain those things if possible. And if we gently warm things, like I make warm soups all the time. One way is to take like a vegetable medley in a blender and add warm water, not boiling water, but add warm water to it and blend it up, and you have a warm soup. It's amazing. Kelp noodles, for instance, you can warm up those and warm up the sauces. So it's not that we don't have to avoid warm foods. It's that we want to maintain the integrity of the food that comes from Mother Nature, because that helps the digestive system in ways that is not to be underestimated. The reason I had chronic psoriasis was because my gut had become backed up. It had become congested, constipated. And so raw foods really help the digestive system move properly. The number one benefit is bowel transit time. Undenatured foods move through the bowels very fast, which is how it's designed. So if we have any inflammation or weight gain, or we're chronically underweight or overweight, or we have skin issues, any kind of eczema or psoriasis, or out of balance hormones like thyroid or adrenal issues, this is where raw food restores the balance in our body. So it's okay, is it a burden to eat undenatured food? Well, it's more of a burden to have these chemical imbalances in our body that lead to hormone issues and inflammation. So warm food is fine, but we don't want to denature the food if possible. That's how Mother Nature designs it. I always like to say there's 180 million species of animals on this planet. Not one of them eats cooked food or denatured food. It's a phenomenon of humanity, obviously, and we don't need it. It's enjoyable to eat cooked food. It's delicious to eat cooked food. It's comforting to eat the warm cooked food. But is it optimal? I say no, it's not optimal.
I'm going to agree with you that it is comforting.
Yeah, it's so comforting. I love cooked food just as much as the next person. You know what I've found though, Jean? I'm 49. And I'm about to turn 50, and I just don't get a free pass anymore. Like the older I get, the harder it is for my body to deny the truth. And if I eat cooked foods, I get psoriasis and I get other problems. And it's just easier for me at this point to even eat a raw food diet. It's actually easier because there's consequences, I find, with straying from that balance of nature. And so if I take the hard road with my diet, I have an easier life. And if I have an easier diet, I have a harder life. So I front load the work. I do a little more discipline and diligence with my diet, make sure it's at the optimal, utmost health. And then my life becomes easier in so many ways. And that's the benefit.
Well, did you ever, like after you did that juicing, right? Then you went raw. Did you ever revert back and start eating cooked foods again? And then you had issues come back?
I have stayed mostly raw. I have had cooked foods over the last 5 years, of course. Yes, I've revisited steamed starchy vegetables and rice and oats and things like that. The starches are really the main difference between a cooked plant-based diet and a raw plant-based diet. It's just those starchy vegetables. That's the main difference, because we don't want to eat starches raw. We don't eat potatoes and beans raw, although we can sprout some raw, right? So there is ways to work around the starches that we all love so much. But yes, of course, I've come back. I've tried cooked foods over the years. I just don't find that it gives me the optimal health I'm looking for. And because I'm consistently very high raw or completely raw, I have not had any health issues come back. But I do know that if I was to go back to a mostly cooked food diet at this level of where I'm at, what I've learned, the age I'm at, almost 50, I do believe that my body would struggle. And so it's just easier. I mean, my level of vitality that I have is exceptional. My level of stable energy is exceptional. I go to bed with energy and I wake up with energy. I never have blood sugar dips. I never get hungry, which is hard to describe to people, but I do not get hungry. I eat when I know I need to eat to maintain my calories, but that sensation of like hunger is gone because it's more stable. I eat because I know I should, and it's a more synergistic balance and flow with food. And I think that sensation of like hungry, like I must eat now, that demand for food comes from blood sugar spikes from starches. You know, starches like potatoes, for instance, spike that blood sugar, just bam, spike it. But if you eat fruits and salads, there's no blood sugar spike at all, virtually none. So it's, again, stable. And I think that's optimal. And, you know, and then we're not going to have health problems return. And it just makes our life easier in the long run. So that's what I've found.
Well, I also think at this level, you know, once you clean your system out, your gut biome starts to heal and you create a whole new colony, a whole new bacteria in there. Well, not a whole new, but you grow the bacteria that's going to help to maintain your system, give you that homeostasis. And once you get through that, you know, and if you add or eat something that is not going to help and support that, then your body goes, yeah, no.
Yeah,
So,
that's exactly correct. Yeah, because we have a microbiome built on the foods we're eating. So for instance, if we're eating starches and cooked oils, our microbiome is there to help break down those starches and oils and optimize the digestion of those. But if we are only eating raw foods, for instance, then the microbiome will adjust for that. And then when you go back to eating starches and oils, you feel that difference. Like, oh, I don't like the way that feels. That's not a good feeling to put cooked oils in my body. And that's what I've found now, is that the cooked oils are really something I really don't like. I like the raw oils. I will put raw oils on my salad sometimes, but even oils I keep to a minimum. I really like the whole food fats in nuts and seeds, avocados, olives. You know, the whole food fats are so phenomenal. It just, the body knows how to process them at the most optimal level. And I avoid seed oils completely 100%.
Excellent. Because I think oils, you know, will sludge your blood, literally.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, they're very sticky. If you've ever touched the bottle on the outside, that's exactly what's happening on the inside of your blood, is that these cells become so sticky that they stick together and they can't flow through. And it takes about 10 to 12 hours to process. So
absolutely. High lipids in the blood is actually a contributing factor to pre-diabetic states. You know, so if we have any signs of pre-diabetes, the key isn't to eliminate sugars. The key is to eliminate the lipids. And then our body knows how to utilize sugars. Our cells are looking for sugar for energy, you know, simple carbohydrates. You know, I say sugar, but what I really am saying is carbohydrates. And our body doesn't like the high lipids in the blood system. So if we have high lipids from fatty foods, then it interferes with the uptake of the simple carbohydrates, creating excess sugar in the body. That's where we get candida overgrowths, irritable bowel type syndromes, funguses, molds, yeasts, and of course, pre-diabetic conditions where we have insulin resistance. That is from lipids in the blood. And nobody knows that. Medical science doesn't even know that. You talk to doctors and they think, oh, you're pre-diabetic, eliminate all sugars from the diet. It's the lipids.
yes, absolutely.
So we know this. The plant-based people know this, which is why we're in a power position here, Jean. We've got this.
Yeah, we do. Absolutely. Well, I'm the first to go, hi, I'm Jean Shumacher. I'm a food addict. I mean, I am. Cravings. I mean, did you have cravings? I mean, like my husband, you could put a chocolate bar and he could take a little bite off that chocolate bar and he could put it in the drawer and come back 3 weeks later. No, that's not happening with me. Did you have cravings? How did you handle them?
Oh yeah, I'm just like you, Jean. I'll binge on foods. I mean, if I have a bag of chips and I taste that first one, I will finish that bag of chips. I have no control. I am an indulgent type. And that goes with substances and alcohol. I got to refrain. Like, so I have to train myself to not indulge like that, which there's a couple ways to do that. First is like, we have to have mindset techniques. Like I look at my vision for my life. Who do I really want to be? And I re-enroll myself in the vision of who I want to be every day. I don't want to be somebody who's like low vibration, lower ebb, dealing with health issues, not energetic. Like, I don't want to be that. So I enroll my vision of who I want to be. And then also, once we adjust the microbiome and the microbes in our body are not demanding the cooked foods or the cooked oils or the junk food, that's where we set ourselves free. So we want to start by cleansing the body. The path of beating cravings is really synonymous with the path of detoxification. If we can cleanse the bowels, I talk about juice fasting. I'm a juice fast coach. And I think that we must do an extended juice fast one time in our life to reset the microbiome. Juice fasting is just the first step of that, though, because then we have to rebuild the microbiome on raw foods, whole raw foods, ideally. And if we can do that, it eliminates like 90% of the cravings because we don't have these bacteria that are demanding the junk food. If you just start eating raw food, okay, say you go from a junk food vegan diet to eating raw food. You're like, gung-ho, I'm going to be a raw vegan. I like Shane's right. I got to do this. You're going to be battling insane cravings. So that's why we can't just start eating raw foods. We really want to focus on detoxification of the gut where all of our microbes live. And that's why juice fasting is so effective. Juice fasting is actually very gentle and natural. It's very healing. It allows the body to detoxify naturally, and it's not dangerous. A lot of people think, oh, I've heard that it's dangerous to do a juice fast. It can be hard on my kidneys, my thyroid, my adrenals. The opposite is true. It's very gentle, and it supports the natural regeneration of our entire hormonal system, which then is also a big part of cravings. So juice fasting is very gentle and natural, and you cannot hurt yourself. Anyone who would be listening to this message, as a juice fast coach of 5 years, I've helped hundreds of people through juice fasting, long juice fast. I have a private client right now on 100 days of juices. I will say, no matter how bad your health conditions are, no matter how degenerative your organs are, your kidneys or whatever your problem is, juice fasting will help you. It's not dangerous. You cannot hurt yourself, 100%. And that's the first step to transitioning to a healthier diet and lifestyle. If you're over the low energy, if you're over the blood sugar spikes, if you're over the inflammation, if you're over the weight gain, you really want to reclaim your health, start with a juice fast and then rebuild your gut with raw foods afterward. It'll change your life.
So part of this journey is about food, clearly, obviously. How did you learn to become raw? I mean, partly just, I know, eating that way, but learning tips, tricks, techniques?
Yeah, well, when I first went raw, I was inspired by other raw vegans. I bought some books. I watched some YouTube channels. I started following some raw influencers online. I learned a little bit here and there, but really the big deciding factor was that I decided I was going to be raw. So it didn't matter if I didn't know how to do it. I was enrolled in the vision of being raw, and therefore I was going to do what I needed to do to be raw, regardless of what other people were saying or not saying or anything. So I'm really kind of self-taught in this field, and I have followed some long-term raw vegans. There's a handful of raw vegans out there that are long-term, like we're talking over 40 years, undenatured raw foods. And they all have the same message, essentially, which is that nutrient density, nutrient variety is key in a raw vegan diet. And one of the versions of raw food that we come across when we start to research online is a fruit-based diet, a low-fat raw vegan diet for detoxification. And I'm a trained detoxification specialist. But we have to be careful that we don't look at a raw food diet and a detox diet as the same thing. Raw foods are not a detox diet. A raw vegan diet is a sustainable long-term diet if it's a wide variety of nutrient-dense foods with a balance of macronutrients, proteins, carbs, and fats. But if we have chronic illness and we're coming to a raw food diet to heal, to help, to solve a health problem, we're going to come across a low-fat, raw, vegan detoxifying diet, which is completely different. And we don't want to confuse the two. Detox is one thing. A raw vegan diet is another thing. So if we need to heal, yes, there's ways to do that. I'm a specialist in this is what I help people do, heal with raw foods and juice fasting. But then if we're going to maintain it over time, 30, 40 years, like some of the experts I was talking about, then we have to find the macro balance that works for us. This is a unique process that's specific to each individual. We have different dietary needs with macros, depending on our age, our geographical location. I believe every human needs to eat undenatured food to thrive at the highest level. We should not be eating cooked foods, overly cooked foods, if we want to really be in our highest health. But to be raw, we have to do a little bit of experimentation and find the macro balance that works for us. So what works for me really well is 65% of my calories coming from carbohydrates, 20% of my calories coming from raw fats, and about 15% of my calories coming from proteins, all raw vegan. And I'm, I work out at the gym, I got good muscle mass. So 15% protein is plenty to achieve muscle mass and growth and be strong and live the lifestyle that we want. We don't need the amounts of proteins that the fitness industry and the medical industry tell us to eat. It's actually an excess amount of protein. All of the proteins I get are from greens, superfoods, nuts, and seeds. Believe it or not, that's all my protein. And it makes for the highest health in my body. And I have learned this through trial and error. And sometimes people come to this lifestyle and are really confused. They hear conflicting information and they're like, I don't know. This is sometimes where we need coaching. So that's why I have my group coaching program, Raw Vegan Heroes, which is on my website, rawveganrising.com. That membership is there to support people with understanding how to not fall into the pitfalls. That's why we support each other as a community. We need mentorship when we go into these lifestyle transformations like this. We need mentorship and we need guidance. And so I've developed that for people who need support. And that's really all I can say. I mean, there is no expert. There is no definitive guide on how to do this. There is no book or person that is going to be the definitive answer that anyone is looking for. So there's no guru and there's no authority outside of our own willingness to have lasting change. That's how I put it. And that's how I coach people, is that we are the authority. We're the expert. We just have to dig deep and realize that we already know everything within us. We have the wisdom within us. We are magical, powerful creators in the universe. And if we give our power away to authorities like doctors and health experts and gurus and dietitians, we're going to get confused. So we have to follow this internal path. My internal path has led me to the simple, universal, natural truth of undenatured food. It's that simple.
Well, I know, when I went plant-based, I tried to tell my whole family about it, and I'm the only one in my family that's gone plant-based. And,
yeah.
How about you? Has your family jumped on board, or they're like, oh, he's that crazy person out there, whatever?
Yeah, no, my family's not on board. My father just had open heart surgery in March because of his terrible diet and lifestyle. He's in his early 80s now, but nonetheless, a lifetime of alcohol and meat eating and fatty restaurant food style food, foods have led him to have a artery bypass or whatever that is. And no one else in my family has followed suit. They know the truth. I talk about it openly. They don't want to listen. They're closed off to the truth because, look, hey, we're addicted to food. We have a lot invested in our dietary lifestyle, and it really kind of sets the tone for our tribe, so to speak. We don't want to leave the tribe. We don't want to leave behind the comfort zone of family tradition, cultural tradition. And that is one of the biggest hurdles. But I would say this, look, we are all leaders of our own life. And if we shine our light, if we empower ourselves to the highest level with high vibrational living foods, and we activate our spiritual connection and we're shining, people will praise us. People will want to do what we're doing. We can be leaders simply through example. We don't have to convince or educate or enroll. All we have to do is enroll ourselves, and then we make huge lasting change. That's why I have had the success I've had in my life and my business, because maybe my family doesn't want to listen, but there's hundreds of thousands of people who are listening to me through my social media channels. Millions of people have seen my YouTube videos. People need the message. So I can't get lost in, well, my children don't want to be plant-based. It's not my job to convince anyone who isn't ready, because there's millions of people who are ready. So I just kind of go to the higher note, go to the higher plane, and speak to people's higher selves, and they'll be ready when they're ready.
Right. Well, what was the most difficult obstacle that you faced in going raw?
Well, okay, that's a really good question. I will answer this differently probably than 99% of people. What I think is the most difficult obstacle is an identity change, a change of who we are on a fundamental level. So what I talk about the mythology of the hero's journey. If we look at all the great heroes' stories throughout history, like the Lord of the Rings and Frodo taking the ring to the mountain, and Star Wars, where Luke Skywalker has to single-handedly defeat the evil empire, these types of stories of the hero's journey, which actually goes back to Joseph Campbell's work and the mythology of the hero. That's where that comes from, is Joseph Campbell. And I've studied this mythology in depth. There is a death and rebirth process that happens. So as we go through our hero's journey, our own personal hero's transformation, we go through the death of the former self. And this is talked about in the mythology. And so that's the hardest part, is the death of the former self. But if we are on this journey, if we are on our own personal hero's journey, we are reborn with greater strength, greater wisdom, and greater knowledge. So we only temporarily feel like we're losing something. But in that moment, it feels like life and death. It feels like a part of us is dying. And it's very hard. So also in heroes mythology, this is very interesting, there's always a mentor, a figure in the hero's story that helps usher us across that threshold. And I look at myself as that with people, as a coach and a mentor for people. I've gone before them. I'm further along on the journey. So I act as like a mentor, saying, hey, look, let me show you how we can cross this threshold from the comfort of our known world and enter into this unknown world. And I do that through my coaching and through my Raw Vegan Heroes membership. That's how I do it. And I made a video course called The Raw Vegan Success Path, how to go from a non-vegan to a raw vegan hero. It's a 37-part video series. It took me a year to outline and make this video course. And that is the main video course you get when you join my group, Raw Vegan Heroes, is people get this video course on how to go through the identity change, because it was so massive for me that I knew I had to support people with this. And so I outlined my entire journey in the hero's mythology, and I overlay the mythology over the raw vegan transition. And it's amazing how it syncs up. We are on a hero's journey, whether we realize it or not. We're striving to become the hero of our own life and taking on our health and excelling at shining our light at the highest level, becoming the person we're meant to be, living into our purpose on this planet, living into our legacy of who we're supposed to be and how we can be of service. That is the hero's journey. And we need food for support. We need the mental and emotional and spiritual support. So if we eat raw living foods, it naturally supports us in the becoming of who we're meant to be. And that's what my video course is about. So it's a profound change. It was the hardest thing for me. Cravings are not, I got nothing on the death, rebirth of the self. Okay. And leaving cultural tradition and family tradition behind and saying, okay, I'm going to forge a new path. That's small potatoes compared to the death and rebirth of our own personal identity in going from a cooked food eater to a raw food eater. The good news is, I'll just give you a little summary synopsis, is that it's so simple. On the other side of the hero's journey, it's better than ever. And it's simpler than you think. And it's just miraculous. The food is easy. You feel better. It's easy to eat raw. And what seems like an insurmountable mountain to climb is actually a tiny little molehill. And then we laugh at it on the other side and say, oh, that was simple.
It's funny that you talk about a hero's journey. I kind of use the analogy in what I do is Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, right?
Yes.
Here she is in with the land of munchkins, and she's like, okay, my house just fell on a witch. I've got ruby slippers on. I'm with all these weird little people. I just want to go home. And she's like, they're like, yeah, we got nothing. There's no GPS here. There's no cell phone service, you know. And she's like, am I having an acid flashback or something? You know, they're like, no, go see Oz. But yet on that path is going to be a witch who is going to be throwing fire bombs at you, and winged monkeys that are going to pick you up and take you in the wrong, you know, different journey, different direction. And that's what
it is. Yeah.
That's kind of like what we do is we help people like, hey, come here. I got a shortcut here.
Yes.
If you go down there, there's going to be winged monkeys. You don't want to go there. Trust me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, as mentors, Gene, people who help others transition to this miraculous whole food plant-based diet, is that we have gone before others who are just starting, and we need mentorship. Mentorship is the number one thing we need. And number two is accountability. We need mentorship and accountability. And if we have that, we can be successful. And that's how I think of the shortcut, is really accountability. Like, boy, if we have accountability, somebody in our corner, other people who are doing the same thing, we see that we're part of a movement bigger than ourselves. It gives us permission. It gives us permission. We need a community around us. We need permission to do something different than the status quo. And that's what I've created in my world. That's the number one thing I can help people with, and how I serve people is creating that for them.
So walk us through a day of food. What's that like for you?
I look for nutrient density, okay? And I look for not only adequate calories, right? But mostly I focus on nutrient density. So what that means is I will focus on superfoods a lot, okay? So I will I work out 5 to 6 days a week. I go to the gym and I lift weights, okay? That's what I do. I love it. And so before my workouts, I will have a smoothie. I always do a smoothie, bananas and dates. I use ashwagandha. I use maca root. I use cacao powder, which is rich in flavonoids and iron. I will use different superfoods. I use the reishi mushrooms, the cordyceps, the chaga, and the lion's mane. I love adaptogenic herbs. I will use ginseng. Okay, I use the Panax ginsengs, the Asian ginsengs. Ashwagandha is an Indian ginseng. These types of adaptogenic herbs, okay, are high in proteins. They're all high in proteins. They're all high in phytochemicals and phytonutrients and micronutrients. We might look at a powder of ashwagandha and we might think, well, that's not food. It's just a little bag of powder. It's highly rich in minerals and phytochemicals and enzymes and nutrients. Okay. So for me, 5 years into this, I look at my little ashwagandha. I add like a tablespoon to my smoothie. I look at that as food. It fuels my body. So I add these superfoods to my smoothie. I do bananas and dates in my smoothie every day. Dates are rich in protein, rich in carbohydrates, anti-parasitic to the body. I have a minimum of 3 to 5 dates every single day. And I never skip a day without dates. Also calorie dense, about 100 calories per large medjool date. So if I add 5 dates to my smoothie, that's 500 calories. Okay. And then I will add different things. I might make it a spinach smoothie, or I might make it like I might add frozen fruit, but the base is always bananas, dates, and superfoods. Okay. Then post-workout, lunchtime, I will have fruit. I love fruit. I will eat a mono meal of fruit, meaning I might sit down and have 10 oranges or a large portion of grapes or blueberries. I love blueberries. So I will usually have a fruit mono meal at some point in my day, where I'm just sitting down and eating one fruit at a time and a large quantity of it. Then I will make nutrient-dense salad wraps or salads for dinner. What I really love is doing, say, for instance, a salad that has really high protein, high omega-3s. As a vegan, as a plant-based eater, I focus on omega-3 rich sources of fat and whole foods specifically because our body needs these omega-3s to convert to DHA and EPA, which is something that we can't get from a plant-based diet, our body has to convert it, which we can do if we're healthy and we have the proper hormonal balance and the proper gut microbiome. So that's why we need to be raw vegan, focusing on high omega-3s to get this conversion of omega-3 to DHA. So I focus on hemp seeds, flax seeds, chia seeds. I make chia pudding. I add flax to all my smoothies. I add hemp seeds to my salads. I add hemp seeds to my salad dressings that I make. So I'll do a hemp oil sometimes. Like if I'm going to, instead of olive oil, I use hemp seed oil, high in omega-3s. I never use olive oil. I just don't. If I ever use any oil, it's hemp seed oil for that omega-3 balance. And then I will add pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, walnuts to my salad, high in protein. And then I'll wrap it up in like a nori sheet and wrap it like a little burrito, and I'll have salad wraps. I might add some seasoning to that. I like the, I'll maybe add some nutritional yeast or some sort of a seasoning or herbs or something like that. And it's delicious and it's filling, and I'll add avocado. So I can make a salad, for instance, that's like, 600, 800, 1,000 calories. Between my smoothie and my dinner and my fruit lunch, I usually hit 25 to 3,000 calories a day. Highly nutrient dense. I don't focus on fruit. I don't overly focus on avoiding fruit, but I focus on nutrient dense greens and superfoods and high omega-3 rich sources of whole food fats. And that combination has led me to immense success as a raw vegan. You can see how I look. I'm 50, almost 50. And I look and feel amazing. I have good muscle mass. I work out. So a lot of raw vegans might be underweight, and people say raw vegans don't look good. That's because they're not eating a nutrient dense variety of foods. They're eating fruit only, or they're avoiding fats, or they're avoiding certain types of fats. And those are the pitfalls. Those are the pitfalls of how to do it wrong and how to mess it up. And then we're going to have to go back to some diet we don't want to be eating. Like we don't want to eat animal products. So to avoid eating animal products, let's focus on nutrient dense whole foods with an abundance of omega-3 rich sources of fats. That's how I do it.
Wow. Well, you don't look like you're going to shrivel up and curl up in the corner, honestly.
No, no, I'm stronger than most of the guys in my gym. I'll go into the gym and I see guys, half my age, struggling to lift half the weight, who are obviously shoveling down protein powders and steak and eggs, trying to do these bodybuilding diets. I'm 100% raw, and I'm twice their size, twice as strong, and I don't eat any of that protein powder or animal products. So, strength and vitality doesn't come from those sources. It comes from understanding the building blocks. Amino acids are just as abundant in plants as they are in animal products. The fats, you know what I mean? The fats come from whole food sources, plant-based sources. We don't need animal products for fats. In fact, the cholesterol in animal products is detrimental to our body, and it's toxic in ways. It's cooked, heated, it's oxidized. We don't want any of that. So then we get everything we need from the whole food plant-based diet, focusing on high raw, and we can just have as much fitness level as we want. It's all in our mind, So that's partly why I lift weights every day, is because it strengthens my mindset. And if I work hard in the gym, everything else in my life is easy. And then I can come home and I can do my work and I can support people and run my coaching business and know that, hey, this is easy and my life is blessed.
It's true. It's true. So what are you most proud of?
I am most proud that I have created the Raw Vegan Heroes community. It's such a supportive environment for people who need to be educated or educate themselves on how to detoxify their body, how to do a juice fast, how to prepare for raw foods, how to learn more about raw foods, how to celebrate the raw food diet, how to strengthen the immune and raise our vibration and break emotional attachments for food, reach peak performance athletically, reverse the signs of aging, reach my body's natural weight and body composition. I save time and money as a raw vegan. I have unlimited energy, and I ultimately fuel my spiritual growth and spiritual awakening. And so this is what I focus on in my Raw Vegan Heroes community, helping people reach these same levels. This is what we all want. So my Raw Vegan Heroes community takes place in a Facebook group but you get instant downloads when you join. So people get my bowel detoxification guide protocol in a PDF. They get my 14-day meal plan in a PDF. They get my Success Path video course, a 37-part video series, instantly available. I have additional training videos that I give my members on how to get protein from a raw vegan diet, how to build muscle as a raw vegan diet, how to achieve exceptional vitality and energy from a raw vegan diet. And my Raw Vegan Heroes community is so affordable. It's $89 for an entire year of coaching. So I'm proud of that because I've been able to take everything I've learned, compile it into concise structures for people to learn from, and offer it all for so little money with a year of coaching and support and community and accountability on top of it. And my Raw Vegan Heroes has been really successful I started it 2 years ago, and we already have 600 members, and it's just about to launch. It's actually just in the still early phases. And I see 10,000 members in this community over time. That's my goal, to serve, to really be like, my vision is for Raw Vegan Heroes to be like a global hub for plant-based education and support. I'm about to bring in guest trainers and educators on topics and really bring in additional support besides myself and my coaches. So I have big vision for this, and it's already supporting people at such a high level. It's absolutely astounding. And my goal when I started it was to just create an accountability community for myself. So I was around other like-minded people. And now it's grown so much bigger than me. It doesn't even rely on me anymore. Everybody in the community supports each other, and I am in awe every single day of how incredible it is. And that's the result of me being in alignment with my higher self and my mind and my body and my actions. And when I've aligned through my raw vegan diet, abundance has sprouted around me. My community, my coaching, my business, everything has sprouted and grown. So this shows me that I'm in alignment with my purpose and my passion, and my values and my actions are aligned. And it feels amazing. And I'm most proud of that.
Wow. Wow. So if someone were deciding they wanted to do this, what are 3 things someone can do to start this journey?
I get this question every day, like hundreds of times, because I make videos on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. So every day I have hundreds of comments coming in. The number one question is, where do I start? What do I do first? What's next? So I made a video course on how to start a raw vegan diet. It's a free video course, and it's a 6-part video series with the top 6 questions that people ask. How do you start a raw vegan diet? How do you get your protein? How do you deal with cravings? How do you deal with bloating and digestion issues? All of the top 6 questions, I do little trainings. Like the videos are like 10 minutes, giving you the little synopsis, and it's absolutely free. And that's how I've leveraged, because I talk to so many people. So that video course is a must have. You have to sign up for it. It's absolutely free. You just put in your name and email. You can unsubscribe from my list at any time. There's no spam. It's completely my service to people. And that's on my homepage on my website, rawveganrising.com. Just go to the homepage, and it's just down from my hello intro, and you just sign up for my free video course. And that's the top 3. But really, what I always say, to just like summarize briefly for people, the number one thing we need is not to understand what food to eat, not what to buy at the grocery store, not like how to do this or that. Actually, the first thing we need is accountability. Yes. Accountability means a different crab bucket. If we're surrounded by people who eat toxic food and junk food and don't care about our health or a healthy lifestyle, how are we going to break free from that? The analogy is the crab bucket effect. Okay, and let me just share this with you briefly. There's a fisherman on the pier, and he's got a bucket of crabs, and a guy walks by and he says, "Hey, fisherman, you got to put a lid on that bucket of crabs because they're all going to climb out of the bucket." And the fisherman says to the guy, "No, I don't need to put a lid on this bucket, because if one crab tries to climb out, all the other crabs reach up and pull them back in." So that's the crab bucket effect. We are in an unconscious crab bucket, whether we realize it or not. So we're affected by the people we surround ourselves with. In fact, we have the same income level. This is proven in science that we have within $10,000 a year of the 5 people that we surround ourselves with the most. So we earn the same level of income with the 5 people we spend the most time with. The same goes for diet and health. If we're surrounding ourselves with friends and family, God bless their souls, we're going to have the exact same results they do. If we want to change this, then we need a new crab bucket. A new crab bucket. That's the number one thing we need, a new crab bucket. That's what my Raw Vegan Heroes membership community is for. It's a crab bucket, and that's why I did it for myself. So that's the number one thing. Now, I talk about this in my video course, how to start a raw vegan diet. The very first thing I say is accountability. I repeat the same story. But then there's all the other things, how to get protein, how to deal with digestion, and all the other stuff. So I highly recommend everyone sign up for that because it's really great.
Yeah, that protein question. Every plant-based person gets that protein question. Every person.
And imagine if you're raw and it's like you're not eating beans, then really where do you get your protein, right?
Yeah. No, for sure.
I'm not lacking in protein. I got big muscles.
Yes, you do. No ifs, ands, or buts. So, wow. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your story and what you're doing, because you're right. Accountability is that whole piece right there. So thank you so much for sharing your time.
Yeah, Jean, thank you. Thanks for the work you're doing in the world and supporting people on their plant-based journeys. And Jean, I just give you a lot of praise and I admire you for what you're doing. And thank you so much for having me on.